Goldstone, California. It's 3:17 inches the morning, and the desert is silent, wrapped in a cold, infinite quiet. The massive dishes of NASA's Deep Space Network stand motionless under the night sky, locked and ready. Engineers sit at their consoles, running routine scans, the same scans they've run tens of thousands of times before, but then the console lights up, not with static, not with the usual hiss of cosmic background radiation that fills the universe like invisible white paint, but with something structured, deliberate, and impossibly precise. The senior engineer on duty recoiled in disbelief, literally pushing back from his chair, muttering words that would echo in scientific circles for decades. That cannot be natural. He ran through every check, calibration, filters, cross-references with the 1,700-page catalog of known cosmic radio sources, pulsars, magnetars, quasars, solar bursts. Nothing matched. In that moment, under the unforgiving desert sky, humanity's understanding of its place in the universe fractured. Because the signal wasn't from our solar system, it came from a small, luminous object entering from interstellar space, from somewhere beyond the boundaries of everything we call home. The date was October 17th, 2025. The object, already extraordinary in every measure, had a name: 3I, Atlas, the third confirmed interstellar visitor in recorded history. Unlike any comet or asteroid, it had performed impossible trajectory corrections, maintained structural density no frozen rock could sustain, and even emitted jets of energy 420 million kilometers from the Sunday. On that October morning, as it moved silently through the darkness, 3I, Atlas, did the unthinkable. It spoke. Its transmission wasn't noise. Its pattern, frequency, and intensity were meticulously designed, building over 5 hours into a precise, focused beam aimed directly at Earth. The signal didn't just alarm scientists, it triggered emergency classified protocols at every major space agency. Simultaneously, it prompted one of the world's most celebrated astrophysicists to accuse the scientific establishment of paralysis, not from caution, but from a more subtle, deeper fear. 9 days later, before slipping behind the sun's glare and vanishing from all telescopes, 3I, Atlas made a final move. It timed everything with orbital precision, as if it knew exactly how long it could remain visible, as if it had a message it intended for us alone. What unfolded in those 12 days may be the most consequential event in human history, not because we discovered something, but because something discovered us. It ensured we understood. To grasp the magnitude of October 17th, 2025, we need to start with the Deep Space Network itself. This isn't just background, it's the foundation of everything that followed. NASA's DSN is a global network of colossal radio antenna complexes positioned in California, Spain, and Australia, deliberately spaced 120 degrees apart. This ensures that as Earth rotates, at least one dish always maintains line of sight with any object in the sky. These instruments range from 26 meters to the massive 70-meter DSS 1-4 antenna at Goldstone, capable of detecting the faintest whisper of radio waves like the energy of a single household light bulb from 16 billion kilometers away. They maintain continuous contact with Voyager 1, now more than 23 billion kilometers from Earth, powered by a mere 23 watts, less than a refrigerator light, yet still heard across the void. This is the sensitivity level that caught the signal from 3I, Atlas. And when the automated verification software cross-checked the signal against every known source, terrestrial interference, spacecraft transmissions, pulsars, magnetars, solar phenomena, it returned nothing, no match. What the DSN captured was a repeating electromagnetic pulse, cycling with metronomic precision every 47 minutes, each pulse lasting exactly 11.3 seconds. Not 11, not 12, but 11.3 seconds, verified 3 times. This wasn't just unusual, it was diagnostic. Now let's examine what those numbers mean. Repeating signals in the cosmos aren't unheard of. Pulsars, the collapsed cores of massive stars, spin with extraordinary precision. Some maintain rotational stability to within 1 part in 10 to the 14th per year. They sweep beams of radio waves across space like cosmic lighthouses, creating fixed, predictable pulses. The first pulsar, CP1919, discovered by Jocelyn Bell Burnell in 1967, was so precise that the discovery team briefly labeled it LGM-1, Little Green Men, considering the possibility of artificial origin until natural physics provided the explanation. But here's the critical difference. Pulsar emissions are singular and simple. Their periodicity is dictated entirely by rotation. They sweep broad cones of radiation at a fixed frequency. They don't encode substructures. They don't layer information at multiple nested timescales. They aren't designed to communicate. 3I Atlas, however, was fundamentally different. Within its 11.3-second pulse, analysts found nested structures, patterns, repeating every 1.7 seconds, with smaller, faster modulations embedded within. A senior radio engineer compared it to a Russian nesting doll, layers inside layers, each more intricate than the last. In telecommunications, this is known as multiplexing. It's how multiple streams of data can be transmitted within a single carrier signal by modulating frequency, phase, or amplitude at different intervals. It underpins modern cellular networks, satellite communication, and virtually every high-bandwidth digital transmission humans have ever designed. Nature does not multiplex. No known physical process produces independent, nested modulations at multiple time scales simultaneously. Not plasma physics, not magnetic fields, not gravitational interactions. Only intelligent engineering can achieve this. And then there was the signal's strength. Over the 5 hours following its detection, the emission from 3I Atlas increased by more than 300%. Normally, signals in free space follow the inverse square law. Their intensity decreases as distance increases. A moving object receding from Earth should appear dimmer, not brighter. Yet 3I Atlas was on a departure trajectory, leaving the solar system, and the only explanation consistent with physics is that the source actively amplified its own emission. Something inside the object was powering up, feeding energy into the signal itself. NASA's response was immediate but classified. Teams of radio astronomers, cryptographers, AI specialists, signal analysts, and engineers from military communications programs assembled. Their mission: rule out every natural explanation before advancing to the next stage of evaluation. Over 72 intense hours, they examined every conceivable phenomenon. When the results emerged, they stated with near total certainty, over 99.7% probability, that the signal was artificial. To put this in perspective, physicists accept 3 sigma 99.73% confidence as proof of a discovery. 3I Atlas exceeded that threshold. Yet what made this event truly staggering wasn't only the repeating pulse, the nested multiplexing, or the amplified signal. It was the frequency, 1.42 gigahertz. This isn't a random number. It is the hydrogen line, the spin-flip transition of neutral hydrogen, predicted in 1944 by Dutch astronomy student Rik van de Hulst. When the electron in a hydrogen atom flips orientation, It emits a photon with a precise energy corresponding to 21 centimeters in wavelength, 1420.45 MHz in frequency. Hydrogen is the universe's most abundant element, making up about 75% of ordinary matter. Any technologically advanced civilization detecting radio waves will immediately encounter this signature. The implications are profound. Choosing this frequency is a universal calling card. It communicates intent. I understand the physics of the universe. I know you are listening. This was no coincidence, no accidental alignment with natural frequencies. 3i. Atlas had deliberately transmitted on the hydrogen line at the waterhole, the very band SETI scientists have monitored for over 6 decades, from the famous 1977 WOW signal to Frank Drake's pioneering Project Ozma in 1960. This wasn't just a signal, it was a message designed to be recognized, a language the cosmos universally understands, transmitted by an intelligence that knew we would find it. The story doesn't stop at the choice of frequency. 3 days after the initial detection, 3i, Atlas did something far more extraordinary. On October 20th, 2025, at 11:15 p.m. Eastern Time, its transmission changed. Not gradually, not subtly. For 8 minutes and 24 seconds, the broad, diffuse signal, the kind that would normally scatter across space, collapsed into a sharply focused, narrow beam aimed directly at Earth. Imagine a floodlight narrowing into a laser pointer. That is what the object did with electromagnetic waves. From a physics perspective, this is impossible for any natural object. Pulsars sweep wide beams. Magnetar flares radiate in all directions. No astrophysical process produces a sustained, narrow, directional signal. Achieving that requires a phased array, multiple emission points perfectly synchronized so their outputs reinforce in one direction and cancel elsewhere. This is engineering, deliberate, calibrated, controlled. Intelligence and independent confirmation came from multiple observatories, including the Arecibo Legacy Observatory in Puerto Rico, which verified that the beam was locked precisely on Earth, stationary relative to our position despite our planet's rotation and orbit. The timing was equally remarkable. It occurred exactly 9 days before 3i, Atlas entered solar conjunction, when the sun's glare would render it invisible to every telescope. The object knew precisely when we would lose sight of it, and it chose that final window to deliver its message. Then, on October 29th, the signal ended cleanly. Every monitor at every major space agency went dark, showing only a single word: restricted. No press releases, no announcements, no discussion. Just silence that stretched for 5 full days until a leading astrophysicist broke that silence, warning the scientific community that something monumental had occurred, something that defied decades of conventional understanding. At this point, the evidence was overwhelming. Within each 11.3-second pulse were nested layers of structure, repeating at 1.7-second intervals, and within those, finer modulations at fractions of a second. Researchers described it as mathematical poetry, or, in the terms Michio Kaku would appreciate, the symphony of the strings rendered in radio waves. It was organized, layered, harmonic, and deliberately constructed far beyond any chaotic astrophysical process. 3i, Atlas, wasn't broadcasting randomly. It was communicating in a universal language, one rooted in the very fabric of the cosmos. And this brings us to the content itself, beyond frequency and modulation. Analysts who studied the signal realized that its nested multiplexing, the repeating harmonics, and the intensity changes all pointed to an entity capable of understanding both mathematics and communication. This was a mind transmitting knowledge, not noise. And every measure of the data, the timing, the amplification, the nested structure, exceeded the bounds of natural explanation. The probability of artificial origin wasn't just high, it was near certainty. Humanity had always looked outward, searching for signs of other civilizations, but for the first time, the universe appeared to look back, and it did so deliberately, audibly, and intelligibly. 3i. Atlas wasn't just a discovery, it was a visitor that acknowledged our presence and made sure we noticed. Understanding the scale of this moment requires stepping back and appreciating the tools involved. The Deep Space Network, the antennas in Goldstone, Madrid, and Canberra are not just passive instruments. They are marvels of engineering, able to detect the faintest whisper of a radio signal across billions of kilometers. They track Voyager 1, powered by just 23 watts, from over 23 billion kilometers away. And on October 17, 2025, they picked up something that exceeded everything they were designed to find. Once verified as real, the signal underwent exhaustive analysis. Teams of experts from multiple disciplines collaborated in unprecedented ways, combining radio, astronomy, signal processing, cryptography, and advanced AI. The goal was simple: determine whether anything in nature could have produced this phenomenon. Every known source, pulsars, magnetars, quasars, solar interference, terrestrial noise, was eliminated. The architecture of the signal, the nested patterns, the precise increase in power, and the timing all pointed to a single conclusion: deliberate, intelligent transmission. The sophistication of the signal was staggering. Multiplexing at 3 separate time scales, nested within repeating pulses, amplified over time, and synchronized with Earth's position in space. Every aspect screamed design. Nature does not calculate trajectories, adjust power output, or encode data in such intricate ways. Only a technological intelligence can. Yet the most profound aspect of the discovery wasn't the technical brilliance, it was the choice of frequency. By transmitting at 1.42 GHz, the hydrogen line, 3i, Atlas communicated on the universal language of the cosmos. Hydrogen is the most abundant element in the universe, and the hyperfine transition produces a radio signature any civilization with even a rudimentary understanding of astronomy would recognize immediately. It is the universal handshake, the hello written into the physics of reality itself. The implications are staggering. Any advanced species anywhere would encounter the hydrogen line. By transmitting at this frequency, 3i, Atlas wasn't merely sending data, it was sending intent. It said, "We know you exist, and we understand the universe the way you do." Unlike random cosmic emissions, this frequency choice demonstrates awareness, calculation, and deliberate communication. This is why SETI has long monitored the so-called waterhole, a quiet region of the radio spectrum between 1,420 and 1,665 MHz. It is symbolic. Where hydrogen and hydroxyl emissions meet the place all civilizations might logically point instruments to listen. The WOW signal of 1977, Frank Drake's Project Ozma, every search for intelligent life, all pointed here. And now, 3i, Atlas had answered the call, transmitting at precisely that frequency at the hydrogen line, making itself unmistakably recognized as an intentional signal. The universe had spoken in a language built into its own fabric, and humanity was forced to listen. The message was unmistakable: we are not alone, and we are no longer simply observers of the cosmos. We have become participants. 3 days after the initial detection, the signal didn't just carry intent, it acted. On the night of October 20th, 2025, the broad, cosmic broadcast transformed into a precision beam locked on Earth with impossible accuracy. Natural sources of radio waves, pulsars, magnetars, quasars, simply cannot do this. Directional control of electromagnetic energy requires a phased array, multiple emitters synchronized to reinforce a signal in one direction while canceling it elsewhere. This is a technological achievement. This is intelligence. An independent confirmation from multiple observatories proved the beam's aim was deliberate. It wasn't sweeping randomly across the sky. It was pointing at us. Timing added another layer of sophistication. The object aimed its final, narrow broadcast exactly 9 days before entering solar conjunction, the 3-week period when glare from the sun would make it invisible to Earth's telescopes. It knew the exact window for observation. It orchestrated its final move with calculated precision, ensuring that humanity would have a chance to observe, analyze, and understand before disappearing from view. This was not chance. This was intent, and the implications are profound. 3. Atlas not only transmitted a signal, but understood the concept of observation itself. The data captured during this window defies every known natural phenomenon. Within each 11.3 second pulse, nested sub-patterns repeated at 1.7 second intervals, layered with intricate, faster modulations. Researchers called it mathematical poetry, an elegant encoding of information across multiple scales, the kind of signal only a mind capable of understanding both mathematics and communication could produce. In essence, it was intelligence rendering thought into radio waves, using universal physics as a medium. For NASA and the global scientific community, this event triggered extraordinary, classified response protocols. Teams of radio astronomers, cryptographers, signal analysts, and engineers from military communications programs collaborated in an unprecedented effort to verify and interpret the signal. After 72 hours of exhaustive analysis, the conclusion was clear. The probability of artificial origin exceeded 99.7%. By every standard of experimental science, 3. Atlas had transmitted a deliberate, intelligent message to humanity, yet even beyond its precision, sophistication, and directionality, the choice of frequency amplified the message's significance. At 1.42 GHz, the hydrogen line, the signal spoke in the universal language of the cosmos, a frequency that any technologically advanced civilization would instantly recognize. It was a calling card, a deliberate statement of awareness and intent. The message was unambiguous. We exist, we understand the universe, and we have chosen to communicate. Finally, after 12 days of extraordinary observation, the signal stopped. On October 29th, 2025, every screen across every major space agency went dark, showing only one word: restricted. No announcements, no press releases, no explanations. Silence stretched across the scientific world 5 days long, until a leading astrophysicist broke the quiet with a statement that shocked the global scientific community. What had occurred was unprecedented. Humanity had encountered not just an object, but an intelligence capable of deliberate communication across interstellar distances, operating on a scale and precision that rewrote the rules of astrophysics, information theory, and cosmic diplomacy. The implications are staggering. 3. Atlas was not merely passing through, it sought to be understood. Its signal demonstrated intent, intelligence, and awareness, encoded in a language universal to the cosmos. The nested patterns, multiplex data, amplification of power, precise timing, directional aim, and choice of frequency all point to one conclusion: an intelligence that not only exists, but has calculated its interaction with humanity, ensuring we could detect, interpret, and recognize its message. This changes everything. Humanity is no longer alone in the universe, in the abstract. We have evidence, undeniable and precise, that another technological civilization has reached across the vast expanse of interstellar space to communicate with us. The implications touch every field: astrophysics, communication theory, philosophy, and the very way we perceive our place in the cosmos. And now, the question falls to us: how do we respond? What does it mean for our species to have been addressed deliberately and unmistakably by an intelligence beyond the solar system? How do we interpret the symphony embedded in those pulses, the layers of information waiting to be understood, and the intentions behind a signal that bridged light years of distance? We are witnessing the opening chapter of humanity's encounter with extraterrestrial intelligence. This is the moment where science, philosophy, and imagination converge. The universe has spoken, and we have been listening. The choice is ours: to heed the message, continue the search, and explore what it means to share existence with other minds in the cosmos. If you found this story as extraordinary as I did, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because in the next videos, we will dive deeper into the layers of 3I Atlas's signal, the mathematics it encoded, and what leading scientists believe it could mean for humanity's future in the stars. The universe is calling. Are we ready to answer?